Obviously, if I'm in the wrong spot, Bob or Keith, please let me know. And then after that, one of our staff members, maybe Steve or Rich, will talk a little bit about the public parking on Main Street if it's not covered during the Apex 400 team presentation. And then village staff will give an update on the status of the Civic Center parking garage and the streetscape. And I think we'll rely on village manager Mark Franz to provide that information. So I am going to advance the slide and turn it over, I believe, to Keith Harrell. Is that correct, Keith?
Bob's actually going to do the schedule. I'll do the traffic plan.
All right. So here you go.
You're on mute, Bob.
Bob, you're on.
Can you hear me? If you'd like, I could share the screen, take it over, and use the mouse to kind of talk people through.
That will be fine. Let me allow you to do that.
And Keith, you want me to do that too with the mouse?
Absolutely, you can do that and follow me.
Okay.
Okay, Bob, go ahead.
Where is it? Can everyone see the screen? Oh.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so the schedule, I'll zoom out. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the schedule. So let me pan over a little bit.
Hey,
Okay.
Bob.
Yes.
Because we're going to be looking at some maps with some pretty small details, can you go to, there's a little icon at the very top of the, it looks like a little screen with an arrow in it, very top of the screen towards the left. And click on that, it'll start an actual slideshow. So the slide becomes the full screen.
Next to the right arrow top, Bob.
Next to the blue arrow at the top left. Top left. Up further.
Oh.
Up further, up further. Okay, to the right. Yep, that one.
Oh, okay.
And then just, yep, there you go.
All right. So as far as the construction schedule, we're big milestone. Item 6 here, foundations are pretty much substantially completed, and we're building the Hall Road in preparation for the precast erection, which is on line item 7 here. That's cranes coming this week, and we're starting the erection on Monday, weather permitting, and that duration is roughly 10 weeks. We all know construction, weather, and things happen, but that's our goal to be done with the precast May 21st. Before we can go vertical with the building, which Keith will touch on with the plans, we've got to do some miscellaneous steel and pour an elevated slab. And then we're looked at, that whole sequence will probably take a month. So June 18th is our target date, where we'll be done, ready to start the metal panels and trusses, which is, the bottom of the building is a podium, which is precast. And when you go vertical, we have we call it metal panel system. It's metal studs with Den's board. And that duration there, which we'll show you on the sequence plan, will take plus or minus four months. So we're looking at beginning of October being done with that. And then we'll start and close, we may lapse some of these activities if we can, start the masonry and the envelope of the building, putting the windows in. But in long story short, that's 6 months, precast and metal panels, and the building will really take shape there. So does anybody, any questions on that? We can go to the logistics plan. Keith, do you want to take over?
Okay, this is going to be for both phases, both the precast and the panels. We're coming from 355 onto Roosevelt, and we're heading north on Park Avenue down to Duane over to Main Street, and then north back to our site. it says pull on the here, it says pull past to say, we changed our system around so we can open up our whole gate, allow trucks into the site. So right about where that arrow is, we're going to be heading into our site, and we're going to stock the trucks ready to come in. So when we're ready for a truck, we pull out to the intersection and back them back into the site. We're going to do that for pretty much most of all the precast. So that would be out of a 50-day schedule, probably 40 of those days we'll be doing just that. The last 10 days is where we will have to move. By the way, the roads stay exactly how they are right now. At the last 10 days, we will be pushing that barrier out on the hillside. We'll be closing that road down from the corner of Hillside and Main to the other side of our project. The other road will remain open, and it'll be closed. It'll say closed, open to local traffic, which means the businesses in those two areas, and probably the church will have access to that area, plus ourselves. So it won't be one way anymore. They'll be able to go down that direction. They'll be able to access their sites. That's the last 2 weeks of the precast. And you want to go to the next slide, Bob? And then after that month in between of doing topping, there may be miscellaneous concrete trucks here and there, because we have the topping means we're pouring concrete on all the precast slabs that we got. It actually seals the top off. So then we start our metal panels. We have 5 phases that we 5 different locations of the crane. First, second, and third. I should back up a little bit. During this time, our fence will be moved out additionally, and I'm not sure what Rich had decided on this. It's either going to be 1 lane traffic each direction, or they're going to keep the parking going on the southbound lane or northbound lane, and then have it 1 way going northbound. That's up to the engineer or whatever you guys decide on that. But it'll be down to 2 lanes as we got 3 lanes now, and that'll be the whole entire time of the panels. As soon as the building's erect, we will move the fence back to where it is currently right now, and we'll be able to do all the brick and everything. So it's just the period of time for the panels that this gets moved out to that 1 lane. Now, there'll be a time, and this is going to be like I believe it's every 2 to 3 weeks, Hillside will need to be closed down for, I think it was 2 to 5 days, I believe, each time. We'll move the Jersey barriers out. We'll close the roads. The road closed sign will be back at the other end again. And we have a crane set up in that location right where Bob is pointing right there. As soon as that end's done, we go to our 5th phase, which was over in the church parking lot. And this happens 3 times around the building, 3rd floor, 4th floor, and 5th floor. So in the period of time that we do this whole erection, this is happening, and it's about a 3-week period of time, 2 to 3 week period of time that we kind of just go around the building. And each time we get to phase 4, which is where that crane is showing right now, that's when that road gets closed for 2 to 4 days. But like I said, each time after that, we put it back to normal operation during the other phases.
Let's just be clear on that, Keith, if we could, just to make sure that the closure is only for the width of your property. So the businesses will still have access coming off of Glenwood to and from their buildings.
Correct.
Does anybody have want to look at a different slide, or does that provide clarity on what we're doing?
Okay, can we maybe back up to your first overall site plan? This is now, go one more, leave it here if you can. So again, maybe it would be good just to reiterate, what's really happening on Main Street. So during this phase where we have the trucks coming in delivering the precast, it's important to know that the trucks will enter the site, and most of the maneuvering will be inside the construction fence. They're not going to be maneuvering along Main Street once they get inside the construction property. So yes, they'll be in and out of the intersection at Hillside. There will be flaggers there. There'll be flaggers at Duane, and there'd be a flagger on the opposite side of the train tracks to make sure we don't have traffic backup with the event of a train coming in. So during this stage, it's important to know that the parking lane that's on the east side of Main Street will stay intact, as well as the portion on the north end, on the west side of the street from Santa Fe to Duane. Those parking stalls will remain intact. We don't foresee at this time any need for closure there. However, we do have to do the first run of the large scale pieces of precast to verify that we can make this bend while keeping those cars in front of Santa Fe and the others on the north end still intact. We think we can still make that turn without closing any of that parking. When we get to the next phase with the wall panels, as Keith indicated, the fence line has to shift because the crane has to operate outside of the boundary of the building. And in order for that to occur, the fence line has to shift out a little further. So the crane base, which is this orangish, the lighter orange color, that's the minimum area that they need, which only allows us 24 feet from the construction fence to the curb line. So at that point, the decision needs to be made. Are we looking at two-way traffic or one lane with parking? During this time, again, the spots on the west side of Main Street on the north end are not going to be affected. And then if we can go down one more, and during this time period, traffic still goes past the construction site on the south on Hillside. But if we can go one more slide, please.
This one?
When we get to the closure. So when the crane for the wall panels and the precast get to the south end of the building, in order to be able to reach far enough into the building, the cranes are going to be set up on Hillside. So for those roughly 2-week periods, a couple times during the course of construction, Hillside will be closed through traffic for the width of the property. But again, from the west line of the construction site to Glenwood, it will be open so that businesses and the church can get to their properties. And then as fast as they can get the crane to the next position, number 5, they will pull that the barriers and a construction fence back to where they are now and reopen Hillside. So it's going to be, the project fence line is going to morph through the duration of this project, but we have looked at this many different ways and feel that this is the most time efficient and safe way to control a construction traffic, yet actually get the building built. Any questions on that? The other thing to look at too is, I understand that we're looking at, did we say, Stacy, mid-April, that the Civic Center parking garage is likely to open? Am I correct on that?
Possibly, but no later than May 1st. Could be as early as mid-April.
All right, so that means that the garage would be open prior to the start of the wall panel work, which will help facilitate parking, availability of parking in the areas if we do indeed lose that one lane of parking in front of the businesses on the east side of Main Street. They should be able to, at that point in time, get from the public garage to the businesses, either going to Duane or going through the pedway. Any other questions on that?
Hi, this is Leslie. I own Papier Girl. We're a couple doors, we're right next to Busy Bee. And so my question is concerning the opening of the parking garage. Did I read that timeline right? Is that like October? You'll open up your parking garage while continuing the construction of the rest of the building?
Bob, I'm going to turn that question over to you as far as the anticipated date of turnover.
At the bottom of the schedule here, let me see here. Village Phase 1, we were looking at, this is a kind of a separate schedule just for the parking garage. We have to finish our work overhead to make it safe, but Once the precast is up, we can start doing some of our plumbing, do some of our overhead work with lights. We got to pour the slab. So we're looking at middle of July, our goal
Okay,
to have that available.
okay. And
May I interrupt? Because I just want to make sure we're all clear on something. It may be done by middle of July, but there won't be any pedestrian access to Main Street till when?
When that garage is open to that, we will have access in this corner right where the arrow is. The canopy that was erected in front of Santa Fe is part of, just a piece of, it is a part of a covered walkway that's going to be created from the garage entry right in that location where the cursor is, to allow people to skirt outside the building through that walkway and get on the west side of Main Street in front of Santa Fe. So there will be a covered walkway to allow people to safely go through there once the garage is open. That is a piece of the criteria for getting this open.
Keith, is that what we talked about a week ago though? Because I thought I heard something different.
No, that's what we talked about, but it won't be any vehicle traffic coming out of there. It'll
No,
just
the
be-
vehicle traffic is fine. I didn't think we could let pedestrians out on the Main Street.
We just have to make sure that we just have to make sure that we're done with all of our brickwork, everything we have above it. I mean, I know we have a covered area, but we need to make sure that we have our brickwork and stuff done, which we anticipate being done in that area first. And that's where our goal is.
By July, by mid-July?
Yeah, by basically the end of July there.
Okay.
We have to put in a temporary fire system. There's a lot of stuff that has to happen. We got to pour a slab in there, but unless there's something major happens, I think Bob's timeline is pretty good.
Just to clarify for those in attendance, then the vehicular access to the public parking, which it's not going to be necessarily the entirety of the public parking, but will be off of Glenwood to the west. And that is because for those 4 months following the completion of the precast, again, the contractor is going to be working along the frontage of Main Street to erect the metal panels for the structure. So we can't provide public parking access for vehicles off of Main Street or Hillside until later in the year or early 2022.
okay, but you're saying that customers could get into the parking lot from Glenwood and then exit onto Main Street from that walkway that will be completed. Where they
Yes,
can
that would be correct.
provided that the sidewalk component of the streetscape isn't shut down at that time.
Well, Rich, do you want to, this might be an appropriate time to talk about the scheduling for the streetscape project with regard to Main Street.
Sure.
Should I stop
These-
sharing? Rich,
No, you can leave it on.
I would leave it up because I don't know if there's going to be any additional questions, but in terms of any other streetscape improvement work, we're not commencing the streetscape improvement project until 2022. Our timeline for that, just to update everyone, we're looking at starting the underground utilities in late February. And then that would basically involve the sewer and water main improvements along Main Street from Hillside to Duane. That work will go through April. The streetscape improvements on Main Street would then be started towards the end of April and extend through mid-July of 2022. However, we also have some work on Hillside and Duane Street that we would be doing next year. If you take a look at the board packet a little bit later this week, for next Monday's village board meeting, we are bringing an ordinance to our village board that provides an overall timeline for the entire project, as well as a rough timeline for the first phase of construction that is basically on the south side of the CBD involving Main Street, Hillside, and Duane. So in summary, we don't have any other work except for, wrapping up the parking garage, which should be done by May. Otherwise, we're going to leave the rest of this side of the downtown alone this year.
Okay, thank you. That's what I wanted to clarify.
So Leslie, just the great news is by May, at the May 1st, beginning of May, we will have not only the Civic Center parking garage done, but the pedestrian connection to Main Street. So your customers will be able to walk down, park in the parking garage and then walk down the pedway and access your business on Main Street.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I must have missed that the Streetscape project was being pushed back. Okay, thank you.
Steve, while we have this exhibit up, we might want to just clarify a little bit with respect to when Hillside is closed. The first rough timeline is the last 2 weeks of May for the last 2 weeks or so of precast. So when Hillside is closed at that time, at Main Street, starting at Main Street and extending west along the frontage of the Apex development, vehicles that need local access, Mr. Schaub, your building, and then the residential property to the east, the access will basically be provided from Glenwood, and Hillside will have what's known as a type 3 barricade. So it's a larger, taller, wider barricade with 3 bars on it. It'll say road closed, local access only. It will be placed on as you're on the south side of the street. So as you drive on Glenwood, you'll have to turn in and drive around that type 3 barricade, and then you'll be able to access your property. There'll be the full closure to the east. And then when you exit, you'll simply exit the same way that you entered, go west on Glenwood. We recognize that you will be driving the wrong way down a one-way street, what is a one-way street at this time. That is something that we do routinely on road construction projects where we provide local access. That way, the Bible Church, they can certainly enter off of Glenwood and then go out off of Hillside during that time for service. So just might want to clarify that. And then just to clarify, during the metal panel work, Hillside's going to be closed not for 2 weeks at a time, but for 2 or 3 days at a time for each of the respective levels.
Yeah, 2 to 4 days.
So it's not a full 2 weeks each for each level. And I think, during that timeline, again, just keep your eye posted. If you're looking for, updates on when that's going to happen, it's going to be, Keith, is that going to be fairly routine as we rotate around the levels? Can we provide some type of high level schedule to the affected properties and let them know this is the tentative dates for the respective closures for each level, so they are aware of when they would anticipate not having access off of Main Street?
Well, right now we have to see how it's going to go, but yeah, we have it figured as like 15 to 25 days to make it around the building. So each level has its own unique kind of scheme as you go around, and it's kind of hard to pinpoint days. But what I can say is we will try to schedule this to where we close it down during the week and it's open by weekends. Now I'm saying we try to do this, but if we get a crane, and we set it up on a Thursday and we're not done, I can't break a crane down and move it and then move it back. So our intentions is to have it open every weekend. I can't say we're exactly going to do that every single time, but that's what our intention is.
I don't think we're looking for, Keith, a projected schedule. Obviously, things are going to change with high winds or wet weather, which may impact, work days on your project site. But I think what we are looking for is your best guess effort, 2-3 days in advance of that closure to notify the businesses in the church that the closure is imminent, so that they
absolutely do that.
So they have time to notify their employees and
Right.
or their congregation.
I could probably even give you probably more than a week, a little bit more than a week. So
Thank you.
Yeah, I think a week's advance notice, and again, that as we attend those meetings, the village can get out, a message perhaps on social media, just a little update that, hey, the hillside closure is coming up here for the next level. It's only 5 times, so it shouldn't be that much, effort for us to coordinate that.
And one thing I forgot to add too is we're going to have flaggers all the way, one at Park Avenue and Main and 38, every intersection that we got, and then a few of them on Duane and Main. So we'll get through this without any hiccups. I mean, and we have contingency plans for anything that shall happen. We're dealing with a good professional here who does this every day, so we have all confidence in that subcontractor.
Are there any other questions on any of that? All right, Steve, want to go back to the agenda, or what else do we want to cover here?
I think we've hit all items on that agenda, but if we flip back real quick, yes, we basically covered the information that we were planning to share, but again, we're still willing, if there are other questions, if somebody wants to raise them now, that's fine, or if they want to get back to either Bob, Keith, or myself individually, that's fine too. We'd be glad to get back to them individually or as part of the group. So we welcome open communication on the project and hope to be able to, as Rich was indicating, utilize social media to give advance notices as best we can on the duration of the project.
Steve, I have a question. This is Scott Schaub. So I just want to be clear that Keith Harrell will be sending out some communication in advance of the closing on that'll affect Hillside between Main Street and the west end of the Apex project. And then during those periods of time, they'll obviously, I'll be impacted. There will never be a time where I won't be able to enter my building, or my employees will be enter, even though it may be a little bit of a roundabout through Glenwood to Hillside the wrong way, through a barrier that says through traffic only. There won't ever be a time within those periods of time that the slabs are delivered that we won't have access to our building. Is that correct?
That is correct, with the only caveat being there might be, 5 or 10 minutes worth of a closure at the intersection of Hillside and Main, even with Hillside open, as the trucks are trying to back into the building. So continued closures beyond that 5 or 10 minutes, and that will occur several times during the day. But beyond that, when Hillside is closed on the south side of the project, you will have full access at all times in and out of your property. Yes. The full frontage of your property and the property to the east of you will be open for access. Does that answer your question, sir?
It does. Thank you.
Sure.
So as far as the communication, Steve, like Keith will send the email, but as far as your social media, is someone on your team will send that out like you've done in the past?
We will put it on our social media, yes. We can do it one of two ways. We could either use that as a sole source, but it probably wouldn't help to even just hand deliver it to the 2 buildings next door to your site. The buildings are so close. I just want to make sure that they're fully aware of what the activity is going to be.
I got one other question. We'll have to think about refuse and recycling pickup. You have obviously have dumpsters, correct, Mr. Schaub?
Sorry, I do. I kind of cut a deal with Father Malota that our garbage trucks can have access through the back of our building. They used to go through that Main Street lot and exit back onto Main Street. But now with Apex blocking that off, they have no access other than through the church parking lot. Father Melota's granted me access to the garbage cans in the back of my building. So I don't anticipate that being a problem with Glenwood remaining open.
But Keith, you're working in that area, correct? Are you going to be completely closing that off?
Phase 5, yes. It's a temporary barrier, though. If he needs a garbage truck, we can get a garbage truck in there.
Yeah, let's make sure we accommodate that.
It's not a
Scott,
problem.
what's your pickup day, if you don't mind sharing?
Jason.
Tuesdays. So Keith, if you can make note of that.
And then just, again, notifying, I should know this, but if it's for public services or Groot, that of the hillside closure, I have contacts. So they'll just need to know that they can access off of Glenwood for the property to the east.
All right, anyone else have any topics? I meant to mention at the beginning that we recorded this so we can potentially share it if everyone's comfortable with other businesses to make sure that we maximize folks understanding where we are with this project. So does anyone have a problem with that? Thank you. All right, I guess last thing too, Keith, do you want to just provide your contact information one more time? Is that on the screen? I missed it.
It's on the last slide.
There you go. So anyone interested in reaching out with day-to-day questions or anything else, I know Bob and Keith are both open to that.
It's also on a big old sign at the corner
That's
gate.
true. That is also true.
Steve's got my email in case you want to do it that way.
Okay.
Again, if you can't get through to either of the two of them, which I highly doubt would be the case, you can always contact me with any questions that you may have, or feel free to copy me on anything that you forward to them as well, whatever's your pleasure. We just want to make sure that we're responsive to things as they come up, and we will do our best to do that. So.
All right. Thanks for everybody. Really appreciate everyone's patience. We know this is a challenging project and one that's causing some additional impacts on the businesses. But once it's done, it's going to be a great asset for the downtown. So appreciate everyone working with us on this.
Okay, thank you all.
Thanks all. Have a great rest of the week. Happy
Thank
St.
you.
Patrick's Day.
Thank you.